Welcome everyone to my channel, and I have a question. Is somebody going to advise me some comedy books? Because with this book, what we are going to talk today, I really want going out. Please take me out. It's a book where you very feel isolated and lonely. And of course, this book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So I finished read this book today, and it's already make me crazy. What about this book? It's story about a girl who living in North Carolina, 1915. 1952, 1969. Somewhere there she is living. And she is isolated, and people from the town don't like or hate her or ignore her. And so it's like about her life and about how she's growing there and all the stuff. How it's after state, she had kind of the similar experience how is the main character from the book. She was spent 20 something years, kind of like too isolated in the desert, somewhere in Africa. And she wore more look for the mummies. It was wild animals. It was lions and somebody else. And she was wanted to write a book, something what was similar to her experience in Africa, about the girl who was isolated, and about her loneliness. Lonely life, about her lonely life. And that to be clear on this part, after was spent 23 years in the isolation in the Kalahari Desert. And she was watching for elephants, lions, primates, hyenas, and like these animals. And what she is saying about Kia, the character, Kia is every little girl, and one in a million. Kia is all of us. She represents what we can be when we have to be. I believe in her with all my heart. I believe all of us can do more than we can imagine when life requires it. Saying pretty good, I'm agree that we even have no idea what we're capable to do in this life if we have to. Also what she's saying, I know how isolation can make you feel insecurity and inadequate. What it is like to avoid people when you go to town because you don't belong. About isolation, it's not so many isolated people like how is Kia from this book, because her life reminds me more movie Mowgli. If you have seen it, you know what I mean. If you haven't, feel free to enjoy this beautiful movie. It was one of my favorite when I was child. So about her words that we are more capable than we thinking about, it is true. We are. It's in the extreme situation we even can be Superman. But about isolation, I'm not agree. I think isolation is more about your choice, because still mostly of us, we are living around some social groups, and we have anyway choice. It's not like how it maybe was like 200 years ago, and still like people that to survive, they will like find some groups and work together that to have food, to have roof, clothes, everything. It's like what is how we can survive. We just work with each other that to have a comfortable life, right? Now it is we have like plenty people isolated, but now it's a little bit different because it's now a choice. Especially nowadays, I think it is very hard to be isolated because now it's so many different apps of to find friends, find boyfriends, find moms different, find gamers and other people who you want, depends of your interested. And even stay at home, you can speak with somebody through the camera and everything. And about Kaya, it's totally her choice. Be isolated because, how I said my father before, you are not a tree and you have legs and you can move. It's tree like put roots on the ground and that's it. Can't move, but every person, we have legs and we can move somewhere, right? And she has this choice too. And to be lonely or not to be lonely, it's again her choice. And she is not some disability person who can't move also, right? Mostly whole book, she was kind of suffering about her loneliness. Mostly about her, it was some circumstances who lead her to be lonely. But again, if it's make you suffering, may make you bad, so you probably can do some steps to change it. It doesn't matter actually what happened with you. If you feel something bad and you are suffering, so you can just like make small steps to make your life more comfortable and better. Overall, I was enjoying reading the story. I understood why so many people asking, is it true story or no? It's not true story. It's totally fiction, but it's based on the real story of the author. It just was in Africa, but probably she has some experience the same, so we can enjoy some of her thoughts. Probably she put there like when she was feel lonely too. So we probably can enjoy some thoughts and experience of the author. I read this book 3 stars from the 5 because this book is a little bit more exaggerate like for me and not so much logic, but this was nice to read about people how they were living and struggling in the 50s and 60s. I thought that in America 50s and 60s was gold era and mostly people was pretty kind of rich and fine but we see that it wasn't so true, right? But this book left after when you read it some bitter taste, and I don't like this. And I don't feel that I want to reread it. So this book, I would say for one time to read. The book starts from the prologue. It's 1969, where two boys were cycling and they find in the marsh a dead body. It was a man and his name was Chase Andrews. And they call police. Police show up and start to investigate what's happened. And next, we see that in 1952, so we have two timelines. It's present and past. And in the past, we have is 1952, whole story located in the North Carolina, on the marsh. And we see that it's in 1952 was some category people who were lived on the marsh, and they were called marsh people. And there when we see that one family who contains parents and 5 children. And we see that their father, he has some psychology problems and he became very aggressive, and it's happened since when he was back from the World War I and probably World War II. So we see that family in general try to be happy, as happy as possible, but their father, he became a very violent person and he starts to drink a lot. Sometimes he beating their mother and these children. Their life became more like a hell. We see that mostly it would be story from the Kaya. It's a youngest girl from this family and she is 6 years old. at that age when her mother left them suddenly. She even didn't say goodbye to her children. She just packed her stuff and left them. Mostly of children, they couldn't live under the tyranny of their father, and they decided to left too, one by one. And was left only Jody. He was on that time 10 years old, and he only one from whole family who were left came to little Kaya, said goodbye, and left. So Kaya left one by one with her tyranny father. And on the beginning, it was very hard to live with him because he was all the time drunk and aggressive, and sometimes he would beat her. But she figured out how to be invisible mostly of time. It wasn't not enough food. She ate everything what she could find. And one day, father gave her $1, but for this $1, she's supposed to clean clothes and make maybe some food and clean house. And 6 years old girl, she is first time went by herself to that town was located close by her house on the marsh. 6 years old girl who was extremely shy and closed, and she couldn't count further than 29, and she always was curious what is after 29 supposed to be. So she was first time when she tried to find some groceries. Woman who sold her product, that she was curious where is her mother, why she is alone. And she was lied to her that her mother just stayed at home and she was pretty busy, that it wouldn't be come people and take her from her house. Her father pretty often was drunk. Sometimes he could show up in the shack only one time for 1 week. And Kaya was mostly alone. And one time her father just went somewhere and left a boat. And she decided to try to drive this boat, and it wasn't so successful. And she was lost, but she was meet with a friend of her brother Jody. His name is Tate, and he is around 10 years old, and he was pretty nice to her, and he understood that she lost and suggests bring her to her house. When she turned 6, one woman came to their house and took Kaya to the school, just attracted her with the food because poor Kaya was very starving. So when she showed up in the school, she was with bare feet like all Marsh people, and with clothes what was dirty and with holes, and children start to laugh from her, especially when teacher was asked her to spell word dog. She was spelled like G-O-D. Students start even more laugh from her and make different kind of joke, and Kaya understood that she doesn't want anymore attend the school even for food. After her experience with writing book, she understood that she wants continue and she's enjoy it to do, and she's prepared for her father first time a meal. And when her father showed up and he seen it, he was very touched of this, and instead to ask him to allow her to use the boat, she just decided to spend this dinner together with him in this warm, rare atmosphere. And she asked him, took her to fishing with him, and he was agree. And that's when it starts to be cold time where she starts to feel a little bit that they are family. He had a little gas station and some little grocery shop, and it was peaceful time for the Kaya and her father until when Kaya find in the mail little blue envelope from her mother, and when she show up to the father because she couldn't read it, Her father was treated and became very aggressive and angry. And Kaya, she just wondering maybe mother want to be back. And father was screaming at her and says that she is supposed to forget about her mother because she would be never back. And after this, father was left her forever. He never said also goodbye to her. He just left her alone that she can dig in mussels and oysters and try to sell them. And that's like how she started a little do business and get her own money. She started to sell mussels and oysters to the giants. After some time, Champions understood that she is probably alone, and he told about this to his wife Mabel. And Mabel decided to help her, and Kaya was bringing to them oysters, mussels, and smoked fish. And instead, she had some food and clothes. What is Mabel was collect from the people from the church where she was attend. When she was turned 14 years old, one day she walked past stump and she was seeing feathers there. And it was rare feather and she was thinking, oh, who was put it there? And next time when she was walk past, she seen another feather and it was continue a few times. And one more time she was seen it was feathers, some seeds, and letter. Of course, she couldn't read this letter, so she had no idea from who it is. But next time when she was show up and tried to put some gifts there, she was seen Tate. And that's like how they start to be together, this Tate. Tate was suggest Kaya that he can teach her to read, and Kaya was accepted it. They spent a lot of time together during the reading and writing, and Tate, who was patient about biology, and he was of the same how as Kaya was like to collect some feathers, shells, and learn about all the stuff. So there were people of the science who were enjoying company of each other. And eventually they understood that they started falling in love with each other and was sometime pretty romantic. But also Tate had a goal. He wanted to go to the college and had degrees that to learn about marsh and about biology more deeper. Kaya, who understands that she finally stopped to be lonely and it's somebody who she loves in her life, and she became very happy about this, but everything's supposed to be end eventually, and Tate said that he was accepted for that college and soon he's supposed to leave. Kaya was very upset about this, but Tate says that in the 1 month he would have some holidays and he could come back and spend some time more with Kaya. I started be July 4th, and it's time when Tate supposed to show up. Kaya was waiting for him a few days on the shore, but nobody was show up, and she still continued to waiting, and eventually she understood that he would never again show up, and he even didn't say to her goodbye, but it was important to her because she already used that people left her all the time, but at least to say goodbye, because so far goodbye said only her brother Jody. One day when she feel bad, she decided went to the shore and she was seeing a team of the young people who was enjoying, playing, laughing. And there when she seen Chase and they had together eye contact. Next day Chase was found her and suggested to went to the picnic. So they went to the picnic and Chase wasn't at all a gentleman, started to kiss her and wanted something more, but Kyle stopped him and ran away. Afterwards Chase came to her and said and apologized her. They went together to the fire tower, and afterwards she was bring him to her house, and that's how they start to be together. They start more time spent together. Eventually, Chase started to talk more and more about wedding, about that he introduced her to his parents, his friends. And a little bit later, he was suggest come with him to the Asheville because he had some business there, and it would be trip for 2 days, and they would spend time in the one small motel, and there would be one bed, of course. And Kaya was agree with this because they had a future soon together, so they went to the motel and had first sex there. Meantime, again, we are in the present, 1969, where is going to be investigation, and some witness come to the sheriff who was seen in this dark night when it was Chase murdered. Some people say that they seen somewhere close to that spot Marsh Girl and with her boat. But it was dark and they're not sure if it was she, it wasn't she, and from the lab it came these red fibers, and sheriff decided to check the house of the Marsh Girl, and they find a head with red fibers there. It was identical to the red fibers what they find on the clothes of the Chase. So it's come more and more evidence that Marsh Girl is killed Chase. In the past we see that Chase, at home not educated boy, highly is Kaya. Kaya on that time already had some samples of the feathers, of some insects, of the mushroom, and she did a lot of pictures of this, and she was reading a lot of books. She went to the library and was to bring a lot of books of the biology and ecology and other kind of these books. And she is suffering in their relationship because it's not interesting topics what to talk with him. It's very bad sex, and plus he is now want to introduce her to his friends. One day she went to the grocery and took newspaper, and that's how she found out that actually Chase engaged, and it was broke her heart, and Chase tried to call to her and tried to explain everything, but she was rejected to listen him, and that's how he was disappeared for a while from her life. And that's when Tate was show up, and how we seen before, he was show up before also on the 4th July, but he was hiding, and at that time he understood that he doesn't want to be with Kaya because she would be never in that world where is he. She is very smart and he loves her, but she would be always belong to the marsh because she doesn't like to be around the people, and so where his job supposed to be around the people. But after when he graduated the college, he understood that he couldn't live without her, and he tried to come and apologize to her and to try to make and to try to build their life together on the marsh. He even was agreed to live in the marsh. When he showed up and Kaya was seeing him, first she tried to beat him with a rock. But afterwards, she decided to eventually to listen him. He was said that he very sorry about this, and he was asked her that she can show him her collection of the insects. And when she showed it, he was very impressed, and he suggests to write a book for her and to publish it. What she did, and eventually she was got $5,000, and afterwards it would be $2,000 every year. So she could fix her house a little bit because it was very bad. She make electricity there and water and even could put a bed for her because before she would sleep on the mattress on. 1969, Sharif find out that actually she has alibi because editor was invite her to have a dinner with him. They were worked already together a few years, and now she was feel brave enough to meet with her publisher. So during when Chase was murdered, she was in a different city. She had some alibi, but after some days, they find out that actually on that time was another bus during the night come to the small town and back to the city where she's supposed to be. So she had alibi, but it wasn't kind of a strong alibi for her. Meantime, in the marsh, she already had money, so she doesn't need to dig in more oysters or mussels, and she starts to working for the other books. And at that time was show up her brother Jody, and he was in the military in the war, and when he showed up she was extremely happy, and that's when he bring a bad news that her mother, who she was waiting all this time, she died 2 years ago. But she was very psychology feel bad, and she was kind of lived isolated. She wasn't meet with any people. She was just we shut in her room where were lived her parents and her sister, and she was just painting her children because she whole time was feels that she was left them with her tyranny husband. Jody spent with her a few days, and afterwards he was left because military called to him, but he was left to her his address and phone number, and she was very touched of this. One day she went to the marsh to find more feathers and other samples, and that's how she again meet with a Chase, and it was turned very bad because he tried first to apologize to her. She didn't accept it, but he thought that she has some rights on her and started beat her and tried to rape her, but she answered to him and ran from him. He started to chasing her and that's when she first time started to live not only isolated and lonely to be, but also start to live in the fear that eventually he would catch her, and then it would be pretty bad for her. And that's how we came to the present, that she is back from the another city where she meet with a publisher, and she find out that Chase was murdered, and she starts to hide from the sheriff, and he tried to catch her, and eventually he caught her and bring to the jail where she didn't say anything, and she was spent in the jail 2 months before court started. And she was represented by old man Tom Milton. He was already retired, but when he found out about her case, he decided back and started represented her in the court. Judge said that it would be, if she would be guilty, she would have a death penalty. So it started to be a court where it was invited some witnesses. It was sheriff there, and witnesses was said some different information. Somebody said that they seen her, but afterwards I wasn't sure if they seen her or no. And it was like some different information, and town in general was against of the Kaya because they didn't understood her, and she was strange and different from them. And after some days, they understood that actually they don't have evidence, that they don't have witnesses so much because they seen something and they're not sure what they seen. And eventually, jury was said that she was not guilty and released her from the jail. And that's how it starts her new life with a date. They start to live together and work together, and Jody's children was Kim to them sometimes, and they spent a little bit more time together. Kaya was not alone anymore. They married with a date, but they never had a children, and that's why they were sad. And when Kaya was turned 60, she was died. And at that time, Tate was found on the floor some hole, and there he find a box with a necklace from the shell. What is one day Kaya was gift to the Chase, but he was never took off it until when the night when he was died. He was found without this necklace, and everybody was curious with this necklace, and that's like how Tate find that Kaya actually was killed Chase. And my favorite part when we start to discuss about the book, overall book not bad. It has intrigues, some mystery. I like this detective line when it was like who is killed, the chase. What do you say? Did you know that it's Kaya or no? I was on the beginner thought that it's Kaya because they couldn't find any footprints, anything like any evidence, and I understood that only can Marsh Girl to do like this, but they couldn't find anything, and I started to think, maybe it's Tate, because Chase was kind of aggressive to the guy and even beat her, and Tate was kind of angry about him, and I thought maybe he tried to protect girl who he loves and tried to kill the Chase, but afterwards I just thought that it's probably not logic, because it's all evidence of that actually it's her fault would be, and it's not very heroic and very respectful how he is represented in this book. And I thought maybe it was some accident, but again, why he went to the fire tower, right? Fire tower, he could only went to meet with her because if their spot was. So when it was on the end saying that actually he was killed by her, it wasn't so much intrigue like for me how I think. Actually, let's start actually from the beginning. I didn't quite get how everybody could left 6 years old girl with a father who is tyrann, who is totally couldn't control himself, and he didn't care at all about his children. Just everybody left. Just everybody left. Instead, maybe that to keep together and to start to think what they can manage together, right? It's like 5 children. It's like a lot of that they couldn't like figure out at least something. About their mother, it wasn't understandable for me also how she could left them. Okay, right. She was not clear in her mind. It could happen. She suddenly left them because she was kind of trauma. It's understandable. But okay, yeah, she seems that she started to felt a little bit better, and she on the end started to just like suffering and paint her children instead to show up and do something. Yes, she was afraid if she would show up, then her husband would be, I don't know, like beat, killed them or whatever, but she could just like show up and maybe hide somewhere in the bushes and see what's going on, how it is. Is he inside? Is he not inside? Because he is anyway pretty often went outside. And when he is outside, just like sneaking inside, grab your children and bring them to the safety spot. I mean, I think that to suffering and feel pity about herself, she could do something useful to her children, especially as she left one child who is like 6 years old. 6 years old, it's like child she totally have no idea what's going on and how to deal with everything. And she just left with this tyranny husband, and she had no idea what's happened to them. We could find out many excuses to her why she never showed up, but like for me, that's very bad, because mother, it doesn't matter what is her condition, she has responsible of the children who she is created. Especially the children what is like 5-6 years old, who is can be responsible of themselves. They didn't know how it's world built, how it's working, everything like totally. So okay, you feel bad and you run to your relatives. Ask your relatives just show up and bring child. What, they all afraid of the man who is all the time drunk, never show up in the house, and what, they couldn't figure out what to do. I was actually angry at that part, like, because the author tried to make it understandable and reasonable, her reasons to stay there in the safety spot when her children was, who knows where they was. We don't know about other children. Right, they were like, have been understood 16 years, 14, but still it's children. And their whole life almost spent on the marsh. They don't know how to communicate with the people, how it's everything works. Jody and Kaya, they just were lucky because it's a book, but how many children like them actually left? It's not about isolation. It's more, I would say, question about responsibility of the others, because most of the others, they just like make children and they just like, oh, whatever, they will grow by themselves like mushrooms. So yeah, that was very sad for me, and so yeah, that was very sad for me, and I think that it wasn't a good example why she was left her children. I don't think that exists a good example why mother could left her children, but this, it was very bad excuse, because it could be like make million ideas how to bring children to be safety, not just like shut in the room and cry and suffer and paint her children. Kaya went to the school. Children start to laugh from her, and she stopped, went to the school, and she was very starving. She didn't know what to eat, but in the school, at least she could eat one time, right? And she just like, no, I wouldn't go to the school because children laughing from me. Okay, I was outsider in the school, and I didn't have option stay at home. I have to went to the school, and I'm pretty sure that plenty outsiders have to attend the school. Does they want it or not? They have to do it. And here it's like not, I think, a big deal, right? They first laugh from you, afterwards they stop laughing from you, but at least you have food every day. And plus it's education, and it's option to be somebody more than you could be. No matter what time, it's always how much educated you are, then much option you would have in the future, right? She was very lucky that some boy decided to spend his time with her and teach her read and write. If he wouldn't do it, it would be probably turned very bad for her, because it always was valuable people who was educated. But I was loved how after was showed how libraries and reading skills influence for our life. It's like how is my one of the favorites after Ray Bradbury. He was wrote a book in this Fahrenheit 451 Fahrenheit. We will in the future read with you. And how he said, with a library, you can get any education you want. And that's so true. I mean, okay, better probably than college, university, that because, like, for example, chemistry would be hard just like from the library, because you would need do some experiments there, right? Or physics was the same. It was good that she was biology, because biology, right, you can like try from the library, from the books, to learn about this. But some another, it would be harder, but still it would be more educated you, and history you would know theory, right? So if you if you can read, if you can write, if you have access to the library, so you're already very rich person, and everything depends only from you. And especially now when we have internet, and here is millions billiard of the libraries, different kinds of book you can find, and many sources for free. So I think nowadays in the present it's even shame to be not intelligent person. I want to talk with you about discrimination, about racism, what it was in the book, because I quite couldn't get that moment when it's champions and his wife Mabel was like, people was so bad attitude to them because they have different color of the skin, right? And I think it's very shame. It was on that time was shame, and nowadays it's shame, because most important is what is the person. And I like how it's in the book, discrimination was shown to the Afro-American people and to the Marsh Girl, because it seems that it's supposed to be like person have there in the town, that they would be like communicate with that person, right? But if it would be some different from that person, there wouldn't be no communicate. But I think it's like what is amazing in our planet, that we have some individual, right? Some people who is very different from us, and they could see a world from the totally different side, and they can create something new. They can bring some new ideas, and that is amazing. We have to more pay attention to these people who is different actually from us, because they can have some different gifts. They can bring some something new, something good, some new ideas to our world, and that is amazing. And I like how the actor showed Marsh Girl, who was different from them, and they all think that she is weird and strange, but she was one of the most educated people there. And she would bring something very great to the science. And that's what is we have all know, that if its person is different, doesn't mean that something wrong with him. It means that he just see world a little bit different than you are. Like that, it's never you can expect from the person what he would be turned in the future, because you can see because you can see that person is probably not so smart, or not so beautiful, or not so funny, or whatever, like, and eventually he would be like comic, or he would be a scientist, or he would be a model, right? You could never expect anything from the person, and you just have to be kind and respect other people. And about the skin, I didn't understood it, who is care of the skin, if there were like really great people, because when I was child in Ukraine, I was watched a lot of movies from the America, and it was a lot of Afro-Americans people there. And I was enjoying when I went in the middle school. It was first time when I find out what is racism from the history lessons. Because before I didn't get like I was wrong. So for me, it's kind of weird to read about this, because how I said, it doesn't matter how different person from you, it's more important his actions, what he is doing, because it could be shitty person or it could be like very smart, creative, intelligent person, and it doesn't matter what is color of his skin. It's more important what he is bringing to the world, what is his action. So Tate's father was find out that Tate was pretty often see Marsh Girl, and he was said that he's supposed to be careful about her, and he that probably she is not so good for him. And Tate's like, no, it's like everything alright. And his father said, but please understand, it's my job to say things like this. It may not be pleasant and all for us to talk about, but parents have to warn their kids about things. Warn about what? About the girl who you never meet? Like, who you know only from the gossips from the town? Just meet first with this girl. Find out about her, meet with her, talk with her, and afterwards warn your child. How you can be warn your child about stuff what you have no idea, what you learned only from the gossips. You can do adequate reaction about stuff what is you learned from the gossip. First check the information and afterwards warn your child. Data was like a lot in this book, right? He was did some mistakes, but in general he was very good guy. And I was like him a lot also because it was easier to read what they will speak between each other, because this accent was a little bit harder to understand. But Tate and Kaya, they both had pretty clear language. So that's another reason why I was like Tate and Chase. Who was annoying of the Chase? Up your hand. Because Kaya was with the Chase, how I understood, mostly because they don't feel alone. And she was so tired of her loneliness that she even decided to be with the Chase, with whom she couldn't talk. He was more dumb than she, and when she wanted to talk about science or about some clever stuff, he was very dumb to understand and just like, oh, look, there's shell. It was something like this. So it was nothing to talk about with that guy. And okay, he is ex-sportsman, right? So at least we expect that he would be good in the sex, right? But she wasn't satisfied with the sex. So she has money. She is very smart. She doesn't have good sex. And he never introduced her to his parents or friends. So the question for what she need him, that you don't be alone, but she's anyway alone. You're always alone if you don't have person with who you can to talk. And she doesn't have person with who to talk because she couldn't talk with the Chase. He was very dumb. And she was alone because they even didn't have a good sex. So for what to be with him is you always not satisfaction has. So for what this guy in your life? And about money, she has money. Maybe she even had money more than he is. It shows that moment when you with a person and you think that you're not alone, but you are alone because it's nobody near you with who you couldn't share anything. No thoughts, no interest, no hobbies, anything. We have another guy with who we can compare. It's a Tate who is educated, who is love her a lot, who did mistake, who a little bit coward, but still on her side all the time. And another, what I think one of the most important is like when you give to the person not a fish, but teach him how to get this fish by himself. Once again, Tate was nudging her to care for herself, not just offering to care for her. It seems that all her life he had been there. And what he did first, he was taught her how to read and wrote. And second, he was suggest her to write books and publish and get money from this. And he was even help her to find some publisher who could do this job. I think it's already a reason, maybe not to be lovers and couple, but at least to be friends, because what it states at least deserve to be a friend. Jody couldn't know he had been with her all these years. That course of times he had shown her the way through the marsh, taught her over and over about herons and fireflies. More than anyone else, she had wanted to see Jody or Ma again. People could go on. We can lose some people, we can lose connection with some people, but some people would be always in our heart. It's people who give us some knowledges what we use from the day to the day, what is make our life more comfortable and easy. These people and their knowledges would be always with us. And other category of people is who give you love. That people who show their love to you, they always would be in your heart. And so what is cool example, what is after showed, that she would always remember Jody and Ma, and they would be always with her, no matter where they are. They always would be with her through the love and knowledge what they give to her. I had a hard time to read about court. For me, it was strange to read about death penalty because, well, I think that it is supposed to be exist death penalty. I think one for what I would be do death penalty is for pedophilia, because there it's like no excuses at all for that people. But in this case, like death penalty for the girl who is could kill or not kill a man, it's like, I think it's too much. For me, it was strange to read about so aggressive attitude to her. They even never speak with her, but they already was very aggressive to her. And this was very weird. When it was this all questions and witness, and on the end of the court, when they understood that they didn't have evidence, because only one evidence what they have is this red hat, but it wasn't evidence anymore because it could be like any time. With this red hat, people, they didn't have any evidence, and they tried to destroy her alibi, but they couldn't do it. So she has alibi, and still they made some theories that she was probably like running or like with a boat, or it was John Wind who was help her, and other different details. And they just start to create some theory, but I mean, come on, it's life of the girl who is like 25 years old, who is publisher, who is educated, intelligent, and could bring more good stuff to the world. How you can understand, of course, I don't talk about everybody and everything. I talk exactly on this book, and here she was really killed the Chase. But again, Chase, who was trying to rape her, who was beat her, who was dumped, and he couldn't bring anything good to the world. And girl who didn't do anything bad, she just didn't want to live in the fear, and who is bring a lot of good stuff, useful stuff to the world. Like, I mean, it's obviously who's supposed to live, who doesn't supposed to live, right? On this case, I would be say that it's self-defense. And self-defense, it usually doesn't supposed to be punishment, or it's punishment really slightly. In her case, it was more self-defense, and I think she was absolutely right. I mean, like, I think how it's everybody thinking that she is absolutely right. And if it's like jumping, snow, know about this, and Tate knew about this, and they didn't do anything. They just like, oh, poor you, but maybe go to police. Of course, they didn't do anything, but still poor you. And just like, could you imagine how many stories like she existed in the world when it's women and other kind of victims, they just couldn't go to the police or to tell somebody because of their shame, or they just thinking that nobody believe them and nobody help. So she hasn't any other choice than like to take everything to her hand and deal with this situation. What she did, and bring afterwards many other books what is supposed to help to the future. The world became more better. And conclusion of this book, I was enjoyed to read this book. It was a kind of depressive story, and how I said before, a little bit exaggerated, and but it was bring some good ideas what you can to think about, and maybe reconsider some stuff in your life. So that's plus of this book. In the same time, something wasn't enough for me. I think it still had some questions to the book, to the author, because I would maybe something different did, and I didn't like the end because end was very sad. I understood that after trying to make realistic it, but still I would like that end would be some different, like something about, like this moment when you kind of like a book, but at the same time you understood that it's just not your book. So it's like mostly what has happened to me, that it's a good book, just probably not for me. So I would rate this book 3 from the 5. Thank you that you watched my video. If you like it, please support my channel, subscribe, and left your comments. What do you think about this book? Do you like it? Do you don't like it? And see you on the next book.